Surveillance cameras are a familiar sight on business premises and in public spaces, installed to protect people, property and assets. According to India CCTV Camera Market Outlook 2021, the India CCTV camera market is expected to grow with a compounded annual growth rate of about 27.16% in the period from 2016 to 2021. As cities such as Delhi move towards bolstering its CCTV network and companies are increasingly relying on the virtues of surveillance technologies in securing their infrastructure and assets, it begs the question if they are actually effective.
CCTV systems are a great tool for law enforcement agencies when they're investigating major incidents. There's a lot of talk about face recognition and how it can benefit them, but frankly at the moment the technology is not really good enough for them to be able to use for that type of investigation. Artificial intelligence or mapping patterns that are spotted by CCTV imagery is coming up over the horizon, but again, like face recognition, it's not really good enough to be used for law enforcement agencies.
CCTVs are a very valuable tool in the 21st century. They can act as a force multiplier and enable situational awareness for security teams, a corporate campus, and extend and clearly help to detect, classify, and identify a potential risk or emerging incident. You know, as you look at the relevancy as threats evolve, really the use of intelligence analytics to help enable a better detection of the potential risk, and then where are you going to place the cameras and why are all very salient questions that need to be asked to help get the most out of CCTV.
In this episode of India Risk Report, we review the efficacy, development and risks which increased video surveillance poses from a legal, ethical and security viewpoint.
Hello and welcome to another episode of India Risk Report, and in this episode we are looking at the excessive importance that people continue to give to CCTV cameras and how many people have begun to see CCTV as an end-to-end solution to the entire problem of security and the threats of security that we face in our society. The video surveillance market in India is expected to grow at about $2.4 billion by 2020, and at a more specific level, India's CCTV camera market is expected to grow over the next few years till 2021 to about 27% from what it is now. So therefore, there is a lot of growth that is expected, and this comes primarily because of the excessive dependence on CCTV. But the big question is CCTV the answer to all our security threats and all the challenges that we face both in the industrial sector, corporate sector, as well as to the citizens? And we have two experts with us who will be enlightening us on the subject. And I'll start with the first question to you, Gary, that what is it about CCTVs that catches people's imaginations? Why is CCTV seen that as though it can prevent crime? Does it really prevent crime, or does it give you evidence only after the crime? And there are views now and there are reports that even that evidence is not holding up in courts.
There are a lot of folds within the question. Maybe let me start by at least looking at CCTV, what it is. CCTV can be everything or CCTV can be nothing. It's just the way CCTV is utilized, programmed, and finally a solution is created using CCTV. Just putting a camera in place is nothing else but having eyes not connected anywhere. If camera is not having a brain behind to analyze what it has seen, it's of no use. If there is no body attached to the eyes to put your hands up to defense mechanism or run out of a situation, it's of no use. So you need to have a full solution using CCTV, which means you are able to have a brain analytics, you are able to have certain response mechanism, then it's of great use. If you just have cameras, and unfortunately in India, what is happening at maximum places, we have just put these cameras up and not utilizing them for any efficacy. World over, the biggest example people give is London, which has approximately 8 million population and 500,000 cameras. each Londoner on an average gets clicked 300 times during a day routine what they follow. While this is great, but at the same time, even after having that system, there have been breaches of crime, there have been breaches of terrorist attack. Yes, their ability to catch those attackers has been better than others, but as a security professional, my desire is to prevent rather than only respond. So what I want this CCTV to do is become intelligent enough, help us to prevent or reduce the risk and damage control, rather than what we're using this for is post-incident analysis.
You know, you brought out a very interesting point, and that is something that I want you to throw a bit of light on till I go to our other guest, and that is really the human error factor. Because, you know, there is a lot of dependence on CCTV per se, but there is not enough understanding amongst those who install it also that CCTVs are as good as the people who monitor the CCTVs. And particularly when the human factor is involved, people get tired. It has been said that you can only monitor up to 4 to 6 screens for about 6 to 8 hours. So beyond that, you cannot have the same person monitoring the information for a period of 24 hours or 12 hours or whatever it is. And therefore, what you are getting is a situation where some major incident would happen, and that is the time when the person who's monitoring the screens has probably gone for a break.
Yes, in 100% agreement of that. But if you look at world over, there are right now approximately 300 million CCTV cameras already operational. And by 2022, there'll be approximately, as per some report, they're going to be around 45 billion cameras, not all CCTV, but a lot of these cameras will help you shop, help you do various other things. They'll be in your phone, but all these cameras will be recording something, will have a possibility to go down to the CCTV route or bring to a larger network. But whatever we do, it's an era we need to start that machines should monitor machines. We need to have analytics that will tell a camera what it has to see or able to analyze what it has seen, and then able to generate alarms and alerts, which can be again responded by machines or humans. So having the capability to monitor these many cameras will never be achieved, is not the right practice. We need to look at machines, monitoring machines to ensure, and a lot of these cameras have actually ended up a full-fledged IT devices. There is definitely a IT mechanism serving in terms of connectivity, IoT, analytics sitting inside. So it's a machine monitoring machines that can be a future. There is no way we can depend upon humans to monitor the cameras.
Absolutely. I think the task is vast and the scope is so much and the pressures are so much. But I'll go to our other guest, Mr. Saran Baweja. Welcome on the show. And I believe you are the country manager for Pelco, which is the CCTV division of Schneider India. And so therefore, a straightforward corporate question to you, that a lot of companies are continuing to look at CCTV as the one area that the company needs to invest in, both in terms of their corporate headquarters, but also for a lot of their outlets elsewhere. But it is said that the smart guys who want to evade CCTV know how to get past its covering range or the area that it covers, and therefore what your camera is picking up is perhaps no activity, but activity may be taking place, which will be detrimental to your business interests. Is that true?
I would say to some extent, I would not be, maybe to some extent I may agree to this. But see, obviously, as we said, this is with the IP CCTV coming in, the technology has gone a leap ahead. And with all these IT devices, yes, there are pros and cons to it. Because being IP devices, there is a possibility of hacking happening, you know, and this cybersecurity issues coming in. But yes, there are ways and means to handle this. So the companies are investing a lot on the cybersecurity protocols to take care of these things. So the good companies are investing on that side as well. So obviously you have to be ready for this. So we are being proactive on this. We have been understanding from the market what is happening, and most of the OEMs, they are investing on that side of it to handle, you know, these things. You know, these episodes should not happen of, you know, hacking and all.
Okay, so basically you're saying that there's a lot of investment that is being made, but is investment, and Gary, that's the question to you, that is the investment in the right line? Because let me quote an example from what you said about London having so many cameras. But one of the things that MI6 recently identified was that a lot of cameras that London was installing, just like Delhi government is now planning to install cameras in Delhi in the range of over 200 crores plus rupees worth of investment for cameras. But a lot of these cameras, you then look for L1 products, which is the lowest available price. And the lowest available price are often the Chinese products. And the London intelligence agencies have found that many of these cameras have certain devices inside them, which are allowing the original manufacturer to monitor exactly what you are trying to monitor through your CCTV, and therefore getting inputs into very, very confidential areas sometimes, which you don't want them to get. Is that true?
So the world of collecting intelligence discreetly is available at all means. In fact, there are people who talk about all the operating system of all the machines only made in USA, and they have the ability to control the machines. A lot of manufacturing of cameras happening in China and Taiwan, so they will have the capability to monitor it. Most of the phones are again made in China and Taiwan. They hold far more sensitive information than only the cameras. So these challenges will remain live, will remain part of discussions. But at the same time, I will also like to challenge the efficacy of CCTV to crime control and all the other factors which we are possibly using as of now the CCTVs for. And I would like to make a comment more on the Indian context right now. I think the Indian smart city developers, law enforcement agencies, security consultants, security professionals, all have found a very easy way to show what they're doing in security by saying, I'll get CCTV. And like I mentioned earlier, what they're bringing in is eyes which are not connected anywhere. So I will like to really challenge whether CCTV is even the right investment or not. Unless you are able to create a solution out of CCTV, actually you're wasting money, because the CCTV is not only the cost of camera, the bigger cost of connectivity so that all the camera images can be stored to the storing location, storing all that huge amount of data for a certain number of days. So it's a huge cost. Maybe something else being done for prevention could have been better. So unless you create a solution, CCTV is not the only thing you need to look at.
Well, that is becoming evident, that CCTV is not your only security solution. And quite frankly, in as much as people continue to rely on CCTV, CCTV does present a lot of challenges to people, societies, industry, and the government in terms of what it can deliver. But that after a break. Welcome back. We are continuing to look at CCTV and whether it continues to provide us the all-in-one security solution, or the fact is that the CCTV in itself is part of the greater security architecture that we need to build, both in governmental agencies, our society, and more importantly, in the corporate world, which tends to rely a lot on CCTVs. And I'll ask you this question, Mr. Baweja, once again, that you see, CCTV does provide a lot of information, but to what extent can you guarantee your employees in the corporate sector, in the industries, that all the information that you are picking up is secure? Because there have been instances when CCTV has picked up information from the public domain, say a couple getting rather intimate somewhere in a railway station or otherwise, and it finds its way into the social media platforms and becomes a huge embarrassment when people don't know whether they are being watched or recorded. So how do you ensure that kind of privacy of individuals through CCTV usage in companies?
Okay, so it comes back again to the, when we discussed the first part of it, the system is as good as the operators who are monitoring it. Now, a lot depends on the operator who's, managing the system. Now, if he observes something, and he makes a clip out of it and he circulates it at his own level without, involving somebody else, at his own, jurisdiction, he, distributes the, those clips outside. That is something which companies can't control. You can have mechanisms to, have the system secure that only the authorized operators have the access. But if the operator decides to make a clip and leak it outside, it's sometimes get beyond the company's.
I mean, do you have rules and you have confidentiality clauses by which operators are signatory to that you can legally penalize them?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is the postmortem side of it. So once it happens, those legal actions are being taken. But because as we say, as video surveillance, OEMs, our job finishes once the job is handed over to the end user. And normally what is happening right now is the operators are normally hired by the end user companies. So it is not normally managed by the CCTV company. It is managed by the end user himself. Now he's hiring the operators, and again, there are no regulations to hire operators. You can hire anybody, maybe a normal security guard who's not even well qualified. Even if he's managing the system, he does not have the right education set to understand what is sensitive, what is not sensitive, what he should do, what he should not do. And if he does all these things at his own level, so these sometimes they create nuisance.
Okay, so Gary, I mean, there's another important aspect. While we're talking of companies and operators, let's look at it at the national level. Now, is there any kind of a move? Like, I know regulations don't exist, but is there some kind of a move for governmental regulations and standard security practices on products and procedures to be implemented quickly because of the expanding market reach of CCTVs, the great dependence of people on CCTVs, and so therefore, from what I understand, that there are very few regulatory, if any, mechanisms, whether for industry or for individuals or private housing societies or in the government using it on the streets. I mean, there are lakhs and lakhs worth of cameras that are being installed. I was told Delhi government itself, just around 26 January, takes in cameras worth 5 crores worth of installation just to ensure security during that period. So are there any government regulations? And linked with that is the fact that is there a standard duration period that needs to be provided in the court as evidence? Because up to now, nobody seems to be, from what I know, been punished by the courts based on CCTV evidence. So what do you suggest if it doesn't exist?
Yeah, very interesting here, and maybe allow me to put my answer in 3 different buckets. First, how the present regulation environment exists, doesn't exist. Number 2, courts. Thirdly, maybe is also the future. Presently in India, there is no law or regulation which provides guideline or mandate in terms of deployment, use of information and other aspects, which is very sad. It doesn't exist, although government is regularly planning to deploy so many cameras. Number 2, some of the countries, again I'll go back to England in this case, has defined wonderful norms that how exactly the footage has to be captured, what percentage of screen camera, what resolution, how it has to be stored, and how it has to be preserved and presented to the court to be acceptable as an evidence. Absolutely. So there's a full procedure. We need to graduate to that as well. So that's the first portion. So we don't have it as of now. There are certain industry bodies making an effort. I'm very glad to say that Fire and Security Association of India took a step to create first deployment standards. So in fact, I chaired the committee over there, which has made...
And I believe you have even authored the report.
Yes. So CCTV deployment standards in luxury hotels. So it covers only that much, but it's an endeavor by FSAI to take it to some guidelines and standards, and there's no need every time to look towards the government to make a standard or deployment standard. The industry can create something which can be a great practice, start following it as well. So that's about second bucket about court and what can be done. Third is future. Regulations in this case are not going to be very easy. While I've been continuously saying the CCTV may not be everything, but before I get shot down by these camera companies, I must also commend that they are doing a wonderful work of regularly upgrading the technology. What is happening over there is they are trying to build solutions around the camera itself. So you buy one and you get the solution rather than camera. Just 2 examples for future. They're bringing backscatter technology, which can detect weapon on me. They're bringing technology which can even identify what is my mood. Am I angry? Am I sad?
Okay, so some very important points raised by you, Gary, but I'd like to go back to Mr. Baweja to ask that what is it that the industry can do to ensure in terms of supporting initiatives which can provide us with the kind of technology which serves our purpose, has got fair amount of indigenous ingredients, at the same time doesn't compromise our security because we're totally dependent on Chinese or whatever products.
Yes. So what is happening is right now, at present, yes, government has put a very good, Make in India initiative. But in Make in India initiative right now, it doesn't qualify whether you have to use 51% or more than 50% of components from India. It says and if you're making in India, that qualify there. So right now what is happening is people are getting all the components from outside, assembling it and calling it as Make in India, which is technically not right, because if you really want Make in India, the chips, the processors, all those important technology components have to be manufactured in India. That can only happen if there's a regulation from the government, and they put that in Make in India, at least more than 50% of the components have to be manufactured in-house within the country. So once that happens, we can see some progress happening, technology developments happening on that side. Then maybe all these global manufacturers who are making these processors and these chips and sensors, they will come to India and put their plants here, and then we can have these technology developments happening out of India. But without the government interfering in it, without any government regulations, it seems challenging to move in this direction.
So right now, from what I understand, it's a free-for-all situation.
Absolutely.
And the fact is that there are many challenges that continue to pose for us in our society in terms of what kind of technology to absorb, who will absorb it, who will control it, to what extent will it have indigenous products and external products. But quite frankly, there are advantages that CCTV provides, and the biggest advantage it does provide is in the mind of a potential criminal, and not a seasoned criminal, but potential criminal, that it works as a deterrent. And I think it is the deterrent factor. But the big question is, are we willing to spend hundreds of crores only to work on a product which works as a deterrent, or are we willing to spend both in indigenizing and encouraging local industry to take the place of overseas suppliers, regardless of the branding they provide, because even big products internationally are not necessarily that safe, as we've seen with the model elsewhere in the world. Thank you very much for being with us on the show. We'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, goodbye.